Welcome back, Pixel Nation. Comics Division here. How the hell are ya? So, last week this article popped up in one of my Google alerts for Star Wars. Honestly, it's really nothing new. George Lucas intended for Star Wars to have female Stormtroopers from the start. Well, there quite frankly were a lot of things that George Gary Kurtz should have kept me on a tighter leash Lucas intended to do. And if you ever read the comic book, The Star Wars by Dark Horse, this all becomes very apparent. So, this big green guy on the right, that's Han Solo. The guy in the middle, that's Luke Skywalker. So yeah, there's a lot of things he did differently. Anyway, there were several articles very similar to this one that came out years ago about female stormtroopers. And I think even Chuck Wingle mentioned it in one of his novels. You know, I would go and fact check that, but
koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koala, koala.
Anyway, back then I didn't have a YouTube channel to go and talk about such things. So here we are. Now, I'm old enough to have watched all 3 Star Wars movies in the theater. And I did. I spent a lot of my childhood thinking about the Star Wars universe. One of my earliest conclusions, as I'm sure many others did as well, is that the Galactic Empire is basically Nazis in space. You can see this from their Nazi-like Imperial uniforms to the name of their elite fighting units called Stormtroopers. So, let me ask you this. To be honest, I can't believe I'm actually saying this unironically, but why do the evil space Nazis need to have a diversity inclusivity initiative? By the very fact that that sentence has left my mouth makes me wonder if I'm taking crazy pills again. Before I move on to my 3rd glass of whiskey, because yes, this article is driving me to drink, I want to read from the Human High Culture Wikipedia article. There were several undertones that carried over into the anti-droid sentiment and anti-female chauvinism, which also manifested against human females, who were almost universally barred from higher echelons of power in the Empire's military and government. And the chief tenet of the human high culture was that humans were the only truly intelligent and productive members of any society. They cited that it was almost exclusively humans who had formed and led the Old Republic, and the human worlds of the core were some of the oldest, richest, and most advanced in the galaxy. You see? Nazis in space. Now, I know what you're thinking.
But Comics Division, this is Legends. It was never canon to begin with.
Well, it should be. You see, the rebellion was the opposite of the Empire. It was diverse and inclusive and done in all the right ways. Granted, it really did kind of take them 3 movies to get there, and a lot of stuff in the EU, but hey, they got there eventually, right? Anyway, on to the article. George Lucas always intended for female stormtroopers in the Star Wars universe. I'm calling bullshit. The only person worse than J.K. Rowling when it comes to retconning shit is George Greedo shot first Lucas. Though, considering how male-dominated those movies always seemed. I'm gonna stop you right there, Robin. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm not going out on a limb here, but I'm just gonna throw this out there anyway. You realize that most wars are fought by men, right? Those key leadership positions tend to be held by men, and that this movie's called Star Wars?
But Comics Division, this is a—
Shh, shut the fuck up. The adults are talking. This is like complaining that there's not enough female representation in Dunkirk. It's like, oh my god, there isn't enough women on the front lines in this movie. We have to change this pronto. However, in Star Wars, there are key female characters where it counts. Other than Carrie Fisher's Leia, who spent part of Return of the Jedi in a gold medal bikini. What? Wasn't that like 10-15 minutes of the movie? And do I have to point out while wearing that gold medal bikini, she totally murdered that giant slug monster? Hell, even Carrie Fisher didn't have a problem with the fucking bikini. Women were not seen much throughout the trilogy. Did you forget about Mon? Many Bothans died to bring us this information, Mothma? You know, the redhead who led the rebellion? Oh, that's right. She doesn't count. Although that same movie filmed footage with female fighter pilots, that footage ended up on the cutting room floor. And shit like that happens in movies all the time, and the EU stuff made up for all of that, so next! The prequels didn't do much better. The sole female lead in those films, Padme Amidala, was nothing more than a plot device to explain how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader. I can tell you didn't put much thought into this statement. How dare a story about Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader actually be about Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader? Honestly, I would argue that Obi-Wan Kenobi was truly the lead in those prequels. But that's a rant for a whole other time. Also, you kinda do need to explain where Luke and Leia come from. You know? A woman's vagina? Enter Panamame or Panda Bear or some shit like that? I mean, come on, were you wanting like another midichlorian explanation? That would have been complete shit! However, fast forward to the new trilogy, and almost all the lead roles are women. Only one of the leads is a woman, and they made her rather tragically boring to boot. I mean, come on, this is just like the other story arcs. In the original trilogy, we had Han, Luke, and Leia. In the prequels, we had Obi-Wan Kenobi and Panda Bear and Anakin. And now with the new ones, we have Finn, Poe, and a block of wood. There are far more women on screen now in Star Wars movies than ever before. And your point? That's like saying we have more cheeseburgers thanks to In-N-Out Burger. Much to the chagrin of toxic fans who would have it otherwise. Oh, that old argument.
The toxic man babies, they don't like the whammons.
I want my frickin' space Nazis to act like frickin' space Nazis and not the Rainbow frickin' Coalition. So please, you need to come at me with a stronger argument because that tea is freaking weak, just like this joke. Star Wars has always had its share of female fans, though, so it makes sense to include characters in the story that they, too, can relate to. Oh, so let me get this straight. Me? Because I have a dingle-dangle that means I can't relate to female characters? You're a fucking moron. One of the new female characters introduced in The Force Awakens was Phasma, a female stormtrooper. And she totally got Boba Fetted after maybe 5 lines of dialogue in the second movie. Yo, I kind of feel like I got ripped off here. They billed Phasma as this total badass. Nope, she really wasn't. Complete waste of a potentially cool character. I want my money back, Disney. Women as stormtroopers do seem, however, to be something Lucas thought to add after the fact. Whoa, 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 hold on a second. The opening sentence of your article states, George Lucas always intended for female stormtroopers in the Star Wars universe as far back as 1977, and now you're beginning to walk that shit back. So make up your bloody mind. Either he intended to do it from the start, or he tacked it on later. Similar to J.K. Rowling's statements about characters in her Harry Potter universe. And she's often compared to Lucas for continuing to add things to her story canon. So, in a handful of sentences, you completely dismantled your case for female stormtroopers. That's right, folks, this article is a complete fucking waste. However, Lucas never thought to add female stormtroopers in his following 2 movies. Can you guess why? Because there weren't any. The animated series Star Wars Rebels did feature a unit of female stormtrooper cadets. Yeah, that's because Disney started sticking their dick in the pudding. Several novels also mentioned women as stormtroopers. Phasma, though, was the first to appear in the movies. And unfortunately, her character was given very little screen time and seemingly killed off in The Last Jedi. And nobody cared. Disney still has a chance to rectify its mistakes. Is it really a mistake? With Phasma by either explaining away her supposed death and bringing her in for a more significant role in Episode 9. Or the studio could bring in other women as stormtroopers. Please don't. At this point, it's kind of late in the game to expand on Phasma. I mean, they had 2 other movies to do this, and they failed miserably at it. Even with a lead cast of mostly female, 1 female, 2 males, just like the original trilogy and the prequels. Why is this not computing with you? Though, it seems the company is still making some missteps. You mean like the Force is female? Yep, that's a pretty huge misstep. It's like they're going out of their way to alienate their male audiences. Oh, and for the record, the Force doesn't exactly need a gender. Saying the Force is male is equally stupid. Not only did Disney announce Jon Favreau's TV show for Disney Plus, later called The Mandalorian, on International Women's Day. Oh, holy fuck. Why is this an affront to women's kind because it was announced on International Women's Day? Fucking stupid. It's like you're looking for shit to complain about. It also decided to create a Rogue One prequel series focused on a male character in the movie, rather than a series based on the movie's female lead. Nobody cares about Jyn Erso. Not that Cassian Andor was all that compelling of a character. I mean, shit. He was equally forgettable. Is anyone excited about this show? I mean, I'm not. Out of all the characters from Rogue One, the only one I gave a shit about was the droid. Okay, let's be honest here, folks. Jyn Erso was so generic and wooden, she could have been swapped out with a dude and nobody would have fucking noticed. Now, if you're gonna make a Rogue One prequel, make it about K2SO. And yeah, sure, you can have Cassian Andor too. But that's who you should really be focusing on. He was the most exciting character in Rogue 2 or whatever. One has to give Star Wars some credit for trying, but there are still times when it seems tone deaf to female audiences. You realize that women like Star Wars before all this blatant pandering by Disney, right? And that there's a treasure trove of female characters in the extended universe that would be really cool if Disney would go and explore? But no, they had to take out the big fucking eraser and get rid of all that shit. To me, it seems as if Disney has been working double time to make Star Wars as bland and unlikable as its female leads. But that's just me. Growing up, I always thought the Stormtroopers were clones. That was till George, let's put rocks in front of R2-D2 Lucas, changed all that. What are your thoughts, folks? Make sure to leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Or you can hate like it. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more of my crappy content and shitty opinions. Bash that bell for instant notifications. Sometimes it works, sometimes you have to change some settings to get all the notifications. You can also follow me on Twitter, Gab, and BitChute. I'll see you next time, folks.